I don't know why I'm writing this. Honestly, I still have doubts. What if no one believes me? But if I had heard what happened to me from someone else, I'd probably say, dude, that's complete nonsense. But it really happened. Back then, I was in the 10th grade, and our town had an ordinary high school. Nothing special. Long hallways with beige walls, lockers lining the sides, creaky parquet in the old wing, and the smell of disinfectant that clung stubbornly to your clothes if you stayed too long. It was a Friday. My friend Eric and I had basketball practice after classes. Around 7 in the evening, our coach left, and the rest of the team went home. I suddenly remembered I had forgotten my jacket in the classroom on the 2nd floor. "Let's go get it," I said. "Seriously, just grab it tomorrow," Eric muttered. "No, man, I need to get home. It's freezing," I replied. The school at night is an entirely different place. The fluorescent lights flickered occasionally, and each of our steps echoed so loudly that it felt like the building was amplifying them on purpose. Shadows stretched along the walls, shifting slightly as if they had a life of their own. When we reached the classroom, the door was open, even though I was certain the teacher had locked it during the day. My jacket was hanging on the chair, and then we heard it. Not footsteps, not voices. A soft, drawn-out moan, like someone struggling to breathe in another room. It was distant at first, almost imperceptible, but growing closer with every passing second. "Probably the janitor," I said, though my voice sounded too loud, almost panicked. "I don't think so." Eric's face froze. His eyes were wide, and his lips barely moved. I knew he didn't believe the janitor explanation either. We decided to go downstairs. The 1st floor was empty. All classroom doors were shut. Then the sound came again, closer this time, curling around the corners of the hall. On the polished parquet floor, dark, wet streaks appeared. But there were no footprints, only long smears, as if bare feet had slid across the floor. A cold wind seemed to rise from nowhere, brushing against the back of my neck. My stomach tightened. Eric's hand found mine instinctively, and I felt the same icy dread crawling up my spine. Then it happened. The school bell rang. Sharp, metallic, and deafening, echoing through the empty halls. Only it was almost 8 in the evening. No one should have been there. We froze. The echo of the bell seemed to stretch endlessly down the corridors. Shadows shifted unnaturally, and the moan stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than the sound itself. "This can't be," Eric whispered, his voice trembling. Something inside me told me we had crossed a line. The school wasn't just empty, it was aware. It was watching, and now it had noticed us. We stood frozen, the metallic echo of the bell still ringing in our ears. The air around us seemed thicker, heavier, as if the darkness itself had weight. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs felt rooted to the spot. Eric's grip on my arm tightened, his knuckles white. Slowly, we inched toward the staircase. The dark streaks on the floor seemed to pulse faintly, almost alive, stretching and contracting as if breathing. The shadows along the walls seemed to move independently, twisting in ways that defied the angle of the light. As we reached the corner, something shifted. A figure emerged from the darkness. I can't describe it properly. Faceless, partially translucent, yet moving with a deliberate, unnatural grace. It drifted closer, and a cold gust of air swept through the hall, raising goosebumps on our arms. A whisper followed, barely audible, but unmistakably human. "You shouldn't be here." We bolted. My heart hammered in my chest like a drum. The staircase seemed endless, stretching farther than memory allowed, the walls leaning in as if trying to trap us. Behind us, faint footsteps echoed, but not ours. Something was chasing us, though we couldn't see it clearly. When we finally burst through the exit doors, The cold night air hit us like a wall. Relief was fleeting. The dark streaks seemed to cling to our jackets, our shoes, as if the school had marked us. Every shadow in the empty parking lot looked alive. We didn't speak until we were halfway home. The silence was oppressive, each of us lost in our own racing thoughts. I think it followed us, Eric finally said, his voice trembling. I hope it didn't, I whispered back, though the evidence was all around us. Wet smears on my shoes, a faint metallic scent lingering in the air. That night, sleep was impossible. Every creak of the house, every rustle in the wind sounded like the old building breathing again. My mind kept replaying that faceless figure, the way it moved, the voice that had spoken. Weeks passed, but the fear never faded. Even during the day, the school felt different. Shadows seemed longer, quieter. Corners felt heavier, and the smell of disinfectant sometimes lingered in strange places, as if the building itself was following us. I started noticing little things. My backpack would feel unusually heavy, my jacket damp despite being dry. Sometimes when I glanced in the hallway mirrors at school, I thought I saw a shadow behind me that didn't belong. I would turn quickly, and there was nothing. Eric felt the same way. One day I had to walk past the second floor during the day to get to my locker. Through the classroom windows, I thought I saw the faceless figure watching me. It vanished the moment I blinked. My stomach dropped, and I hurried away, keeping my eyes forward. Other students whispered about strange noises, footsteps when no one was there, doors creaking open and closing by themselves, faint moaning late in the afternoon. I realized then, our experience wasn't unique. The old wing had a presence. One afternoon, curiosity got the better of me. I stayed after class, pretending to gather books. The corridor felt colder than usual. My footsteps echoed unnaturally loud. Then I heard it, a soft, dragging sound behind me. I froze. The sound stopped when I stopped. Eric, I whispered into my phone. Where are you? He replied instantly. Second floor. Something's here. He arrived minutes later, though it felt like hours. Together, we moved cautiously, scanning the shadows. Suddenly, we saw the streaks, dark, wet smears on the floor leading into a classroom. The door creaked open slowly, inviting us in. Inside, the temperature dropped drastically. Our breaths formed clouds in the air. On the wall, dark handprints appeared, as if pressed moments ago. And then the bell rang, metallic, sharp, piercing. I could feel it in my bones. The echo stretched endlessly, bouncing off walls, warping the space around us. The faceless figure appeared again, drifting toward us. It moved faster than before, almost gliding over the floor, and the dark streaks beneath it pulsed like a heartbeat. The whisper came again. You didn't leave. We bolted down the stairs, our shoes slipping on the streaks that seemed to follow us. Once outside, the night air never felt so cold, so safe. But the sense of being watched stayed with us. Weeks turned into months, but the shadow of that night never left us. At home, I started hearing it. The faint echo of footsteps in the hall, the metallic clang of a bell, the soft dragging of something unseen. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But then Eric called. Do you hear it too? That night, the bell rang right outside my bedroom door. Sharp, metallic, unmistakable. My heart pounded as I realized it wasn't a dream. It was real. The sound filled my entire apartment, bouncing off the walls like it was alive. We tried to rationalize it. Stress, overactive imagination. But we both knew we had crossed a threshold. The school's presence had followed us, extending beyond its walls, beyond the hours it should have existed. It remembered us. Sometimes I see glimpses of it in reflections, in shadows at the edge of my vision. It doesn't move like a human. It floats, watching, patient, waiting. And when I'm alone, I hear whispers, the same words, soft but sharp, carrying through the air. You didn't leave. Eric and I have agreed on one rule. Never stay behind alone in any building. Never linger in empty hallways. Even in places far from our old school, we can sense it. The memory of the school, the entity it has become, is always near, feeding off fear and attention. The scariest part is knowing it's not just a story. It's not just shadows or imagination. It's real, patient, and it follows those who remain after hours, those who see too much. I've learned to live with it, to recognize the signs, a sudden cold draft, the faint smell of disinfectant, a metallic clang in the distance. They are reminders. The school is always near, watching, remembering, waiting. And every time I hear the bell in silence, I know it isn't just a sound. It's a warning. It's a presence that never leaves. The school isn't gone. It never will be.